before I was about to do what I was going to do, I'd written a letter to say goodbye to everyone. I found myself pretty much being held against my will for many years. It was as corrupt as you get in this country. I went from a confident young girl who was a ballerina, a singer, just loved life, to someone I didn't even recognise it broke every single part of me as a human.
Welcome to another episode of That Inner Voice podcast, where we get real and raw about life, business, relationships, and having those conversations that matter. Today, I am joined by Tracey Hill, and I'm excited for this conversation, Tracey. Thanks for coming on and joining me. We're gonna pick apart a few things. The fear of success and the fears. But firstly, I'd like just to hear a bit about your backstory, because I heard a very small snippet of it when I first met you, and I'd love to hear more if you're happy to share.
Yeah, sure. I suppose it's been many chapters of my life, but I think the one that you're referring to was sort of in my teenage years. I found myself in, let's just say, an unfortunate situation in terms of relationships. And one being quite physically and mentally abused, and the next a bit of the same, just 10 times worse. So I found myself pretty much being held against my will for many years. And, you know, with that came lots of struggles with family and friends. My family rarely saw me. Friends moved out of the country for their own safety.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was as corrupt as you get in this country.
Right.
It went deep. It wasn't just the abuser per se. It was the network of people that also helped him.
Was this like organised crime?
Yeah, and also our establishment, let's just say, were also involved.
Okay. I understand that.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
Of my own journey. Yeah.
So not obviously, not only was I trying to escape the relationship, but I couldn't make any move without being followed by our own police force. I couldn't do anything. So I think at that point, I'd got to the end of that journey thinking, I can't go on like this. So I decided that one evening I was going to do the worst thing you can possibly do. And I used to sing all the time in my flat. And before I was about to do what I was going to do, I'd written a letter to say goodbye to everyone. And then I thought, right, if this is it, if this is the last moment, then what am I going to sing? And this song, I used to love Mariah Carey, so I sung Hero. And if you know the lyrics of that song, I realised that actually, potentially I can get myself out of this. And what does that future look like for me? I didn't want to be, that poor girl that was abused for years. And then I realised, oh my God, I'm never going to know what love is like because I'd never been loved. I'm never going to know what it's like to have a child, to be a mum. And I suppose at that point, it was a bit of a wake-up call with those lyrics and those words of going, listen, you've been through all this. Let's just do our best to escape this situation. And if they kill you, they kill you. But you're not going to do it yourself.
So you're there. You're wanting to end everything. Because
after 6 months I wanted to end it, but I was there for 5 years.
5 years. And was that physical abuse?
Everything you could possibly
sexual
imagine.
abuse?
Everything.
Everything. So And how did that leave you as a human being, as a person?
You know, I think it left me wondering, one, is there a God? Because if there was, why are you putting me through this? But I'd still pray every night to be out of the situation. It broke every single part of me as a human. Every part. I went from a confident young girl who was a ballerina, a singer, just loved life, to someone I didn't even recognise anymore. I didn't even know who I was then. But I knew that I was way more than this. I'd just got myself in the wrong situations with the wrong people.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can relate to that on some levels of being, you know, stuck in an abusive relationship, and it does destroy your soul.
Yeah,
and it's like
absolutely.
all those parts of you have been either manipulated, they've been shamed, they've been beaten out of you, they've been suppressed to the point that you don't actually know who the fuck you are anymore. So what that song then brought you out of this, and where did that power, where did that little bit of fight that you had left, where did that come from, do you think?
I think I just thought, actually, I don't care if I die. Like, for me, it was like, I can walk out of here, and if you shoot me square in the head, at least I'd walked.
Okay.
I left, and, you know, I decided to go back to my mum's. Like, they were like, look, they'd moved, undercover, so no one knew where they were. And she said, just, like, come with us. And I just thought, look, if I can survive another hour, it's great. If I can survive another day, even better. And I'll just take one day at a time. Knowing that there was a high chance that I wouldn't survive. But
How
I
did you
carried
get
on
out of
anyway.
that? How did you...
In lots of different ways.
Yeah.
Lots of different ways of moving around a lot in terms of, different cars. But I was always found. It's just then, as time goes on, they have another toy to play with.
Right, okay.
And you are not as significant then as you once were. Also, I had, let's just say, I'd been told that the reason that they weren't doing anything about what had been done to me and others was because they wanted them for something way bigger. And at the time, I didn't know what was really going on. But, yeah.
And have these people been brought to justice?
Yeah, brought to justice. Depending on what you think justice is. But not for anything that happened to me.
Right, okay. Have you got your justice?
I have my justice every day. I wake up in the morning, kiss my daughter on the head goodnight, you know, or in the morning, kiss my head. See, this is what I mean about not having any sleep. Kiss my daughter on the head in the morning and good night. That's my justice. I think when I wake up, take that first breath and tell myself that, like, you've got this and I love you. You know?
I love that.
And today's going to be a great day. I only live for today. I don't live for tomorrow, and, you know, I don't dwell on anything really in the past. I just live for now.
How did you start to piece back your life together then?
Yeah, it was.
Were you always just looking over your shoulder?
Yeah.
And hypervigilant. Hypervigilant comes out of being abused anyway. Like to that extent, you know. Were you always looking over your shoulder? Could you ever relax and settle?
No, I didn't relax and settle until many, many years later. Yeah. You know, like with anything, repetition is the master. When you have been scared for 7 years of your life, you have this thing of, you know, protecting yourself as much as you can. Like, that's how I lived for so long. And now it was about you know, survival of the fittest pretty much every day. So I did become, like, it's funny because when I went to work in corporate, they called me like the silent assassin. You didn't know where I was, what I was doing, how I was going to execute on something. My life became an escape plan.
Right, okay. But
And
how
so,
exhausting was that,
yeah,
though?
it was
Mentally,
exhausting. Yeah.
physically exhausting,
Yeah,
I guess.
absolutely. But, you know,
Emotionally.
I was alive
Uh-huh.
and I lived like I was. I had to look behind me, in front of me, all areas. But I knew how they worked. I knew how I could navigate that as well. So it was sort of like taking myself out of the noise of what had happened and just actually looking down, going, okay, I actually can outsmart you. And that's where I suppose me escaping each day wasn't a bad thing as such. It was a good thing because I knew how to navigate my version of life again.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And what does your version of life look like now?
Well, then,
yeah,
you know,
compared to then, you know.
You know, I left school early. I was 16 when I left school, so I didn't have the best grades or anything like that. And I went straight into like any work. I had like 5 jobs to be a pub or whatever that was. But after all of that happened, I had this vision of going after anything I wanted because I'd seen the pits of hell. For me, it didn't really get any worse than that, you know. And I was completely fearless. And I always say, in a way, my trauma became my advantage in life.
Yeah.
You know.
I feel you on that one. I can hear you, yeah.
You know, and it did. Like, shoot me in the head, give a fuck. I was like, whatever. So, you know, I then went into London. I got into the corporate world without 0 qualifications for the jobs that I was going for. And I remember my business studies teacher saying to me, you're going to get ungradable and you're going to be stacking shelves in Tesco's for the rest of your life. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. You know, one, who are you to say that? But at the same time, it was, I suppose, a little nudge in me as well that sort of, let's show her. But ultimately, let me show you, Tracey, what you are capable of. And yeah, then I went and worked and consulted for some of the biggest companies in the world. Rolls-Royce Aviation, Mitsubishi, Burberry, Deliveroo.
So I want to talk about the power of visualization, right? I'm massive on this. I teach this to my clients and I've used it myself. You know, some might call it manifestation, some might call it, you know, having a to-do list, a plan or whatever. But for me, visualization is so powerful and it works, right? You literally imagine, but you're not just imagining it in your head, you're using your whole body and the energy of that into stepping into, like, you're already that, right? Yeah. And that's what when you did the talk, I got a big smile on my face because I thought, no, this lady is on the same wavelength as me. About acting, you know, being that person now. What's stopping you being that? Why are you waiting? Be that person now and step into that energy now. So how did you learn about visualization, or did it was it one of those things that sort of came naturally to you?
Yeah, do you know what? I think from that bath moment, or when I was in the bathroom listening to that song and singing that song, that was the first time actually that I'd ever visualized anything past that moment I was in. So the first time that I closed my eyes and visualized, well, what would it feel like to be loved? What would it be like to have a child? What would she look like? And actually, I gave her a name that day when I was 19.
Same name as?
The same name as she has today.
Okay.
And I was told that I couldn't have children, so I didn't have her until I was 38.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So And actually, I think that was also a lot of my trauma, thinking I would never want to bring a child into this world. So that's a whole, probably another podcast of how our body and everything connects. But, so I suppose that was the first time I visualised anything outside of the noise that I was in. And I just would sit there and think, like, I'd go into London and see these people, like, walking up and down around Liverpool Street, super high-powered. And I was like, I can do that. Like, why can't I have what they have? And yeah, I suppose that there are two things when it comes to visualisation. And we can either visualise the worst, which most do every day. Like, I wake up, oh God, what emails are coming into my inbox? Or what's going to happen? This is going to go wrong. And you go down this anticination rabbit hole and nothing was ever going to go wrong.
Yeah, right? But it's the negative bias that in our brains that we're all wired for a negative bias to keep us safe, right? It's actually natural human behaviour, but we've got to interrupt that and then be like, nope.
And I don't think people realise actually how powerful their brain is. And if I think about even where I am today in terms of my career, the people that I get to work with, you know, that has come from visualising, but not just visualising. It came from, like you said, whole body feeling. How does Tracey feel when she helps this particular client? And how did they feel? Like, what are the, you know, testimonials that they write about you being part of their journey or their performance? And, you know, I think you really have to live it in your mind. And before I do anything now, like any talks or any part of my day, from the minute I open my eyes, the first thing I do is I listen to my own recording. Visualising what that day will be like. But I also visualise the things that could potentially go wrong. And I do that so that I can find a solution to that before it happens. So it's great in negotiation tactics to do that because, there's always going to be something, but just be prepared. That's it. So for me, visualization is very much just an element of preparation.
It's almost like sales training.
Exactly.
Because you need to know the opposing questions that you're going to get asked or the things that you're going to come up against. Like, it is almost like sales training your brain.
It is exactly that.
Like, that's how I sort of see it. It's like, well, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm envisioning. This is the best case scenario. What if that then comes in and does that? We need to get out of that with this. So it's being prepared, isn't it?
Exactly, and I think it's also, like, just for a particular example, because you've mentioned sales. Like, a long time ago, I was working in a tech company. They had an opportunity come in, and someone was just. Basically, it was for like 10 licenses, 100 grand, let's say. And they were about to sign it off. And I'm like, don't do that. And their problem's bigger. They're a multi-billion pound company. Their problem's bigger than 100 grand. And he was like, yeah, but if we get this done, they're going to be... I'm like, no. Just pause. And after a couple of calls with the person that wanted this tech, actually... it scaled much bigger. And I said, you know, this is the long game. And that deal turned into 4.7 million. But before we had that call, I knew the things that were going to come up. Because, again, if you sit in their seat and you sort of play this, like I always do that, even like as a coach and therapist, I always switch roles. Like, how would you think about that differently? You know, what's their perception on what you're about to say and their perspective? So, yes, interesting. But it is, I think it's visualising every outcome and element of that process in different ways.
It could be called blue sky thinking, I suppose, or like looking at the bigger picture. Also, I've always had that knack of being able to. I don't know if it's because I'm neurodivergent or I'm just extremely intuitive and observant, but I've always had that way of being able to almost manipulate myself to any situation and bullshitted my way into a lot of things I had no business doing at the time.
Well, listen, you obviously did have the business doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but that's you know, how I saw it. I was like,
yeah.
I don't really have no business being here, but I smashed it.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
Know?
But you know, and I think that's it. You're brave enough to step outside of your comfort zone time and time again. I think that was the same with me. You know, with everything I've done. Like, actually, if I'm comfortable, there's a problem. You know, and I said this in that talk. Like, I don't know if I did actually, but if I don't have imposter syndrome, there's an issue. I want to feel it. I want to feel hurt. I want to feel uncomfortable. Yeah. Because the minute I do, I know great things will happen.
Isn't that a great feeling?
Yeah.
To be able to not be scared of that, though. Yeah. But you're doing it anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So, talking about fears, and firstly, before we go on to fears, so you call yourself a
performance architect.
Performance architect, and I thought that was that intrigued me.
Yeah.
Performance architect. So I see that as you are the architect of your life.
Yes.
And you get to design that, how that looks, the structure of it, and how big or small that is, right? Yeah. That's sort of my perception of that. So you explain it in your words.
Yeah, do you know what? I suppose when you say I'm a performance therapist and coach, people are like, oh, right. So
not another one.
Not another one. Yeah. No, but what I say is that I optimise human performance, right? And why I like performance architect is that, one, I've worked in probably most of London's best architecture.
Right, okay.
And if you imagine us as that architecture and we have a foundation, it's like, how do we build on top of that to make it work for us? And so, for example, if we take a building, you've got the Gherkin that's in London, if you know it.
Yep.
You know, and then you've got buildings like the Shaft.
Jesus, we're talking penises now.
Leave that in there. Then we've got, and then you've got this penis. But then you've got.
We're leaving that in. That's a blooper.
Leave it in. I love that. Then you've got buildings.
Now I've just got dick on the mind.
Not a bad thing.
No.
Then you have buildings like the Shard, right? Both designed to do different things. And I think that's the same as our human mind and DNA. It's that, you know, if I look at every human I work with, their architecture is different, you know, and it's about them understanding what is that, you know, and being intentional about where you build from that foundation. But you have to understand the foundation before you can build upon it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for me, you know, I had to understand what was my subconscious programming, what was blocking me, how did I think, feel and act then, and what needed to change for me to be the woman that I wanted to be.
Yeah.
But I couldn't, because we can read all the books, we can do all the visualizations in the world, and we can do all this stuff. But one, is it the right thing for you? And two, do you understand what's really going on in your mind? Because if you don't, you're just building a lot of shit on top, and you're never going to be able to execute on it.
It's going to keep falling down.
Exactly.
Yeah, because it's not going to be stable. It's not going to be secure.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
You need foundations with anything. Like I talk about this so much.
I love that.
Foundations of your business, foundations of life, foundations of a relationship. Without that, you try and build the roof first, and then it's all going to fall down.
Absolutely.
It's foundations. I'm with you on that one. They're really important.
Yeah.
And very simply, get to know your brain, your body, and what's going on in there.
100%.
When I talk, it's like I say, you know, we all have a brain and a body, but how much do you ever look into that or try and understand it? We're just going along and along and along in this, like, what's it called, autopilot thing. And we never sort of stop to think about, how does that actually work and what does that mean for me?
Yeah.
So who are the type of people that you work with? You've mentioned high performance.
Yeah, so I work with like CEOs, executives, and that can range from most tech entrepreneurs, banking.
Yeah.
I work with a lot of VCs, extremely highly powered people.
Okay.
I work with people in sport as well, which is always great. And, you know, I think for me, because I come from sort of a background of loving running and different sports, and I was a ballerina as well, is that, you know, I know what it's like to push the limits. So yeah, I love every human that I work with, to be honest. I don't see them for what they do, I see them for what they are.
Yeah. We're all humans
And
at the end of the day, no matter if you're in a council house in poverty, well, you're a flipping billionaire. That's how the range of people that I've known and mixed with throughout my life. And I want to talk about our humanness. Like, doesn't matter how much money you fucking earn, what job you do, whether you're you're a high performance sports person, or whether you're, you know, someone who comes and empties our bins, we're all valuable. Like, I want to talk about our humanness and what's that common denominator of all human beings is fear, right? And I'd love to pick apart a bit the fear of success.
Sure.
Because it's not really talked about that much.
No, I think that there's a lot of people talk about fear of failure. But they don't talk about the fear of success. And unfortunately, you have to fail before you succeed in anything. And people don't like to hear that. So if I'm working with someone and I say, like, can you tell me how many times that you failed at something? If they say they haven't, I have concerns. Because they're going to, and they have to. Like, you know, people that have worked for me before, I'm like, right, I want you to do one thing today. And they're like, okay, what is it? I'm like, go and fuck it up. And they're like, what? I was like, why haven't you written that blog yet? Like, you should have done that ages ago, weeks ago. And they're like, yeah, but it's not perfect. No such thing. Please. And I don't want to let you down. Like, you're not going to let me down. The more you go and fuck it up, this is the best thing you could do. Right? So, and I think we are so scared to fail. But without failure, you will never succeed. Ever. And then you flip that, you know, on the other side, people fear success. And they fear success because of a couple of things that they still don't, they've got there, but they still don't really give themselves enough credit to how. That people are going to look at them a lot. Then how do I stay at the top of success?
See that a lot, don't you? You see this rise in fame or success, and then you see this I can't cope with this, and you see they crash and burn, or just disappear in some cases.
And I think we need to redefine what success is.
Absolutely,
Because if you'd have, a lot of the people that I work with, but even years ago, like, you know, success was defined by, you know, the label you were given as a, you know, sales director or manager or, you know, whatever. Or it was the amount of money that you earned. And actually, it's all bollocks. You know, success.
I believe so
now.
now.
Success to me now is, you know, your identity, your values. You know, if you can live a life where you can be fearless, you know, and you're fulfilled, you've got passion and purpose, fulfillment, you've got good health. For me, that's success.
I agree. My version of success has changed a lot. I tied a lot of my self-worth up in my achievements. So I would and I wouldn't even acknowledge my own achievements. I would just go, right, next. And what happened? Can you guess? Crashed and burnt. You know, and I wasn't happy. I wasn't fulfilled.
You hit the nail on the head there. Though I speak to a lot of people. Firstly, I speak to their ego, and then not that I attack it, but I'm like, well, you're not successful. You've just achieved a lot.
Yeah.
And they're like, that hurt.
Does hurt. Does
You know,
hurt.
Fuck off, I don't want to work with you.
Yeah, because you bruise their ego.
Yeah.
It's almost saying like, well, it doesn't really matter about
Yeah.
all these achievements.
Yeah, because you're still unhappy.
Because you're but that's for
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
is being, my biggest achievement is saying to myself, genuinely meaning it, because I've said it falsely and just gone, for the sake of it, you're all right, Jen.
Yeah.
I like, you're a good person
Yeah.
and you're worthy and you're enough.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's going to make me cry.
Oh,
See, always
exactly, because
and meaning it.
Yeah, and this is the thing, because you're feeling it.
Yeah.
And it's like your inner child is going, oh my God, thank you. Like
Yeah.
giving you a hug and around your heart going, we've got this.
Yeah.
I am enough. And we give so much to others. We tell people how great they are, that we love them every day, that we forgive them. But we never do that to ourselves. We never, I've had to forgive myself for a lot.
Yeah.
And when I ask people, like, stand in front of the mirror, just tell yourself that you love yourself. Like, I love you.
It's difficult
are
to
enough.
start with, isn't it?
It's so tough.
It is. It feels, for me, it felt very of a visceral experience, almost like and that then comes from that self-hatred of, but the inner self-hatred comes from the external criticisms, from throughout a lot of my life and throughout a lot of people listening. I'm sure you'll resonate, whether that was from parental, whether that was from school, whether that was just, what you pick up in your belief systems, and it's that you're not enough.
Definitely. And I think, I got to the point, we live in an age now where everyone's seeking external validation. Yeah. And it's soul destroying, actually. I see it a lot.
Social media.
Yeah, it's bad. So if you can't, like for me, and this is, I think, another area of where, no, I don't need you to tell me I'm good enough. Yeah. I know how good I am, and I've not always been that way.
Yeah. I was going to say, so did you feel I'm guessing you didn't feel that way when you were, and that took work, right?
Absolutely.
And it took consistency
but it's everyday work still.
Yeah.
It's still every day.
It's not done. No. I don't feel I'm done at all.
No, absolutely not.
There's some few non-negotiables I have to do a day.
Same.
Otherwise, my head will go. And when my head goes, everything else goes.
But that's, and every high performer I've ever met, they succeed because they're self-aware. And that's sort of an element of what you were saying. So I have non-negotiables. Right. Now, I know for a fact, if I don't do them for a couple of days, listen, Tracey's not playing her best game here. Yeah. And that's why they're now my non-negotiables. I actually wrote a contract to myself. Okay. And I signed it.
That's interesting. That's a really good exercise to do, actually. I might do that.
I was like, I sit here and
How would you do that then? Yeah. Let's get listeners to do that. This is your exercise. Yeah. I'm going to do it too.
So a couple of things I would say. Start small. So for me, my first non-negotiables were that I would work out at least 11 minutes a day. That was it, 11 minutes, whether that's Pilates or whatever that was for me.
Like the 11.
And I would do an 11-minute visualization, but I would train my mind. So it depended on how I felt that day. If I was going into meetings or I was going to do a talk, I would play out my day in my mind before I got out of bed.
Okay.
Then I work out, then I'll have a nice hot lemon water, and I will execute the first 3 things on my to-do list. The rest, they're not that important. It was those 3.
Okay.
Now, I'd also do the same before bed in terms of my visualization. But that was it. I just kept it small. I've built upon that. But the other thing that I did within that contract is I had a success log. Because we all forget our wins. And I talk about this a lot, is that remember your successes. At any point in life, like one of mine is when I won the 100 metres for my county, right? At 5 foot nothing, and everyone's like 6 foot specimens. And I was told, if you get third, like that's really good. Just, come third. fuck that. I run for 6 months, from Clapham to the other side of Oakley.
Yeah.
In rain, snow, you name it, I was running. And for 11 seconds, really. But you know what? I won. It was the first and last time I won. But that goes on my success log because it's a reminder that you can achieve whatever you put your mind to. And there's a couple of others, so success log and your non-negotiables. But don't do too many.
Yeah.
Just a couple.
I think we're overwhelmed and we're bombarded with what we should and shouldn't do in our own routine.
Yeah.
And I'm all for keeping it simple, Tracey, because why overload my already loaded plate?
Yeah.
So keep that. Yeah. So keep wellness simple, keep self-care simple.
Yeah, definitely.
And we're bombarded with you must do this, you must do that. You don't. It's bollocks.
Yeah.
It's people. It's a marketing thing.
Yeah. And also,
it's
it is
very, very simple. Your breath, your body, and your mindset.
Yeah.
You don't need any gimmicks or gadgets for that.
Not at all. It's
just
free.
Need yourself. It's free
it's
free,
well. And even just going on a walk, everything you need in life to make you better, not just as a human, even curing yourself from disease.
Yeah,
it's free.
It is.
It's free, but people, you're not told that because they want you to buy all the stuff.
Yeah,
that means
and want you to be stuck in your suffering and. The relationship, that's a whole other podcast.
Well, you see,
relationship between trauma and chronic pain and things like that.
Yeah, because once you're there, they can control you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly that. But that's part 2.
Yeah.
That's part 2. And we'll pick that apart. But going back to these fears, right? They stop so many people, right?
Absolutely.
And this fear of success is, for me, I have self-sabotaged in the past because I was like, well, what happens after that? And I took myself back to familiar chaos. Because that felt safe, even though it's not. So I see this all the time, is that in my own journey, you get to a certain point and then you go, and then you go back to that all familiar chaos.
Yeah.
Because what's on the other side of that? But I'm not scared of success anymore.
Yeah.
I'm already successful. So anything outside of me is a bonus.
Yeah.
And miraculously, things fall into my lap effortlessly. Yeah. And I'm not saying that because I'm lying. I'm saying that because I don't have any attachment to it.
But you're not desperate for it.
No.
And this is the thing, I think, when you're, people become desperate for money and for these things.
Yeah.
When you're desperate, it's not coming.
No, because you're pushing energetically. You're repelling. That, not bringing it in.
And I think we deem success by an outcome, and actually isn't the outcome. It's the process of learning to get there.
So why are people scared of success?
Because they're scared of success and failure, both at the same time, and unfortunately you pay for it ahead of success by failing all the time. But success for most people is also the unknown. And I'm working with a tech founder at the moment, and they are about to really, really disrupt an industry that does not want to be disrupted.
Right.
And I mean right from the top. The government doesn't want this. And, I said to her, you've now got to step into your power. And she said, but what if this, but what if that? But what if that doesn't happen? Actually, look at what you're going to give to all of us if this works out. Yeah, I know. You literally need to tap into that inner creative, the woman that built this platform, and don't look back. You just, again, one day at a time, one talk at a time, one interview at a time.
Yeah.
That's it. Don't put so much pressure on the outcome.
Yeah.
And I think, again, for her, for example, it is the fear of press, of
because the press can be pretty. You got to have a tough skin.
100%.
You got to be pretty self-assured, and it will rattle the best of us to have that much bombardment, especially from the press.
Exactly, but again, be okay with fucking it up. Be okay with interviews going wrong. Be okay with like what I said earlier, you know, completely fucking it up. But for me, it's like it's you have to, like you're human, like everyone else, you know.
Yeah.
For me, I'd be, I think, more scared of not doing the thing that I was meant to do. You know.
For me now, I'd be more scared of being quiet and not living my truth.
Yeah.
That scares me more now than
absolutely.
Than stepping out naked in front of like 1,000 people.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't give a fuck.
Yeah. I know. I love that about you.
And then, I've always had that. I don't give a fuck. Because like you, I've been through the depths of fucking hell and crawled out of it, out of the gutter, and by myself brought myself back. Yeah. So you don't scare me, little man.
Exactly.
You know?
But even for people that haven't been through it.
Yeah.
You know, small trauma, big trauma. Yeah. There's always, we live 98% of our life in our subconscious mind, right? Based on that program between 0 and 7, as you know.
Yeah.
You know, my first advice to anyone is if you're suffering with self-doubt, confidence issues, you know, low self-esteem, connect the dots. Understand where that's come from, but really, you know, work with someone to understand that.
Yes.
Release the handbrake so you can drive.
I think it's important to work with somebody because of your own ego. Yeah. It gets in the way. That's why I've been through therapy. I have a coach, you know, or I did have. I'm winging it at the minute by myself.
It's fine.
But like, it's so important for those foundations to have somebody to pick that apart with you. Yeah. Because you can get in your own way with it. And you're like, oh no, because you don't want to look at it. Yeah. But it takes somebody else to say, you need to look at this about yourself and then look at how we can actually work that out.
Yeah, like people say to me, you connect the dots so well. It's like because I understand your mind and how it works, I'm connecting dots that you don't
But you can see things outside of somebody's own perception, I guess. Like, I can see that about you, that you can not just see what they're saying, but you can see what they're not saying. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I see
and that's a skill. I think that's a skill that really good therapists and coaches have. Yeah. Is being able to see what you're not saying and have that bigger vision. And that comes with, for me, being dyslexic. I don't like want to put these labels on myself, but I am neurodivergent, and like I own that, and I hate the word superpower, but I see it as.
Why do you hate the word superpower?
Because it's not. Because it's unsupported. It has not been my superpower. Yeah. It's been almost the death of me several times.
Okay, now I understand that. Yeah. You see, I would say...
But I am my own superpower.
You are. Yeah. And whether, like for me, you know, my brother has dyslexia. And again, we can put a label on all this stuff. But, you know, we're born super unique. We're born with our own genius. Yeah. And it's whether you have let's just say, the stamina to...
Resilience comes into this a lot, right?
To actually recognise your strengths and go full force.
But if someone's always telling you about your weaknesses and telling you what you've done wrong as a child...
But that's the program. That's why you
exactly. That's your program. Then that's what you pick apart, right?
Absolutely.
Is when you have the realization. Oh, actually, I don't want to carry on thinking or feeling like this, and then that's when you.
And our brain is a great learner, right? So if you tell it something different, it will learn from that.
Yeah. We
You know?
can literally reprogram.
Everything.
Neuroplasticity is a wonderful thing.
Like, you know, it's something I've done for years. I've cured my own autoimmune diseases. I've done things that most people think are just unimaginable with my own mind.
Yeah, same. I have.
Exactly.
It's in. This is like, I know that you're big on this as well, but actually getting that across to people, you're met with a lot of
Oh my God, so
anger,
much resistance. But I show people the power of their mind. So I was doing a talk in Bratislava, 400 people. They're doctors, pilots, and it was interesting. And I said to them that, so there's a couple of things. People say you think, feel and act, and that's like the process. I actually think that we feel before that thought.
Yeah.
And then we act.
So that's how I see it as a somatic therapist. So I'm body first.
Yeah.
So everything happens in the body up. 80% of what happens in the mind.
I agree with you. However, you know, I work with some great psychologists that, you know, want to challenge on that. But listen, I think we're all right in a way.
Yeah.
And I said to them, I'm going to show you the power of your mind right now. And I did a trick. And some of them were not up for it at first. They thought I was going to hypnotise them. I said, I promise you I won't. And I did a trick with them so they could see how much their brain could actually work against them. And afterwards, they were all mind blown. They were like, oh my God. I said, so, you know, if your body responds to the picture that I've just given your mind, imagine how it responds when you tell them all the bad things. You know, and that's why we have to reframe the story. And the story is your story. You can make it whatever you want to make it. You know,
exactly.
But you just got to make the choice to make it.
Yeah, and I always say, what's the next chapter? You get to rewrite that
all the time.
Let's rewrite your story.
I've written so many.
Yeah, how many different, you know, versions of you in these chapters, and that's how I see life. So Tracey, it's just another chapter. You know, and I don't have that attachment to anybody in previous or forthcoming chapters. I'm going to be the main character. Like, I'm going to do it with or without you. So let's go.
I love that. It's true. You should be like that. Everyone should be like that.
I'll do a whole podcast about with or without you energy. Let's do that.
But you know, it's the same as...
I would love to get you back actually to talk about the autoimmune side of your story if you're up for that.
Absolutely.
Because I think that's going to make a really, really good conversation. So
I've got pictures and everything of actually how bad it was for me. So no, I will do that.
One thing I do want to is like, we hear this phrase bandied around the internet and amongst people is fake it till you make it.
Okay.
What's your perception on that?
Okay, so a couple of things. I don't believe in faking it. I think I do a lot in future self psychology, and I would say be it till you make it.
Okay.
Because, for example, you have a dream that you want to be, I don't know, an actress in, you know, I don't know, 3 years' time, or a footballer in 3 years' time, or, I don't know, third best in the world, whatever that is for you. Well, what are they doing every day? Well, they're learning, they're training, they're doing all these things. You know, it's not enough to have a vision anymore of like The Secret. I'm sorry, I'm not a massive fan of that book.
I don't like it either.
You know, like be that person, like be them. You know, are they up at 5? Are they up at 6? Are they training by 7? Are they learning new things? You know, it doesn't mean that you have to deliver on results every week or every day, but you do need to be that person emotionally, mentally.
Right, okay. Yeah.
So I don't know if, so for me, it's be it till you make it.
Yeah.
And also challenge that. Like my future self wouldn't be like swimming knee deep in Pinot Noir, like I would maybe have done 10 years ago, right? That chapter's very much closed.
Yeah.
You know,
Do you
now
drink at all?
I yesterday had a couple of G&Ts after an event, but no, not really.
Yeah. No,
not as
I've
much as I
stopped.
used to at all. But I don't drink. I don't. Yeah. And again, now though, I know my limits. You know that
I
that
don't. You
time
see,
was
that's why I
done.
don't.
Right. No, see now. But that became a part of me. You know, if I wasn't drinking a bottle of Pinot Noir when I got home and was cooking at night, I was like, no, that was just, again, keeping suppressed emotion and thoughts and not, I wasn't dealing with the pain, you know? So this is the thing with your future self. I know future Tracey is training her mind every day. I know that mental and emotional fitness to her is a daily routine. You know, the same as if you're, you know, looking to get into sport or whatever that is for you, you're not sitting there eating McDonald's and just, you know, doing nothing, playing a computer every day, all day.
It matters what you're absorbing. So, and that's not just physically into the body. That's
everything. What you're
music,
listening to, everything.
Social media, who you have around you.
Yeah.
Like
you become, as I say, you know, 5 of the people that you spend your most time with, and I think spend time with those people. You know, for me, when I changed my profession, I went and worked with one of the top psychologists in the world. He is one of the top. He's like number 3, I think.
Okay.
Because one, I wanted to be him. I did. Yeah. You know, and I wanted to spend time with him. I wanted to understand, you know, how I can be better for also that person I'm working with. So that's what I did. I didn't fake it till I made it.
You did it.
I was it till I made it.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. But I think for me, I've put on so much of a show all of my life that I did kind of fake it till I kind of made it a little bit.
But again, it's what's the definition of made it for you?
Well, that's changed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I didn't feel successful at all, even though I had all these things that I've done that are really cool. Yeah. But and people are, oh my God, I don't know how you do it all. Yeah. And I was a bit like, I feel like a massive imposter. Yeah. I don't feel like that anymore. Yeah. Because I'm not impostoring. I know this stuff. Like,
it's just evolving. You're constantly evolving.
Yeah. So I let go of that attachment to not believing in myself.
Yeah, of course.
That's only really recent. Yeah. It takes a lot of time.
You know what? It's going to be challenged all the time too.
Of course, it's going to be challenged all the time.
And I think being able to recover quickly. And that's a lot of what I teach as well. It's like, you know, taking your recovery time to 3 days of being out or in corporate, a deal not coming in. How quickly can you recover from that and move?
Yeah. How quickly can you adapt, overcome, get back up, let's go. Yeah. And for me, that is always, it wasn't ever a choice, but it is a choice now. You know, it wasn't ever, I had to do those, because I wouldn't be here otherwise.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah, sure.
And I've often thought about this, Tracey, is where I was at a particular time in my life, I was homeless and addicted to drugs. I was in a derelict building smoking crack with other people on a similar path. Strangers, you know, it was freezing fucking cold. And I sat there thinking, what the fuck am I doing? But now some of those people are actually dead. And I think to myself sometimes, what was the difference between me staying and going and being dead, you know, or dying of an overdose or whatever, or murdered, I don't know, one of the two, and me going, I'm not going to have that life. But we're in the same situation, but I came out of it and they didn't. And I've seen that a lot. Yeah. What's that difference, do you think?
Choice.
Yeah? You think it's choice?
It's choice. Mm-hmm. The same as me not taking my life that evening.
Yeah.
Is that there's an easy way out. You know, I've worked with you know, people that are addicted to drugs before. And
so this will be not heard very well by some of the people in the addiction community, and because they say it's not a choice, but I say, well, I chose.
You did.
And I chose to stop.
Yes, exactly.
It was fucking hard.
Yeah. But you knew the journey ahead of you, right?
And I fell off a lot of times.
Yeah, but you kept going. And this is why it's not about the outcome, right? The outcome, yes, of course, was that you didn't want to be addicted to something anymore.
Yeah.
But it was just trying. I made a choice to try.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
You know?
And look, yeah.
And as long as you keep trying, then your brain's like, "Fuck, actually, she ain't giving up. She's trying, and all of a sudden, it will just click.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't have that. Well, they do have it, but again, it's a choice. That attitude of I'm going to keep trying, as painful and
Choose
as
your hard
as it is.
Choose your hard.
Yeah, exactly.
I think
it is
for me was did I choose to stay and have that suffering, or did I choose to have a different type of suffering temporarily so I could get out of it?
The thing is as well, like actually the other choice was easier for you. To stay in addicts was easier, and you know, for me, ending my life was easier.
Yeah, it was.
You know?
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be that person. And I think it was the same for you. So it's like, well, I was just trying every hour to survive, and you were in a different way as well, but we just kept trying. And that is a choice point. And that's really difficult for us to, especially if we're in that position now.
Yeah.
Because we're seeing it as in life is happening to us. This is what, and it, you know, we have to get out of our own way and actually have an honest conversation with ourselves. Is that I got myself here, and yes, you fucked up really, but let's try and get ourselves out, and that's it.
One thing I say to my clients when I first start working with them is, how much responsibility are you willing to take for your own suffering?
Exactly.
And they go,
it's true.
and I ask myself that question. I'm not taking anybody like from a judgmental lens or anything. I'm not doing anything or expect anyone to do anything that I haven't done myself or asked myself.
Same.
And I ask myself regularly.
Yeah.
How much, you know, are you bringing this on for yourself? And I wholeheartedly believe that we do have a choice. No, not necessarily we don't have a choice what others do to us, but we have a choice of how we overcome that or respond to that.
Definitely.
Do you agree?
I do agree. 100%. And that's why I called my company the pause effect.
Because, talk to me about this.
Just that in every pause is a choice point. And I've had so many of those deep pauses that I was unaware of at first, but now I pause a lot in any type of negotiation or in any conversation.
Yeah.
And for me, just to like, okay, is this the right choice or isn't it? And I'll look at it from both sides.
Sometimes we do make the wrong choices though, don't we?
Of course, but again, that's
so,
good.
Actually, I'm gonna think about it. I'm going to use that. And then it's like, in hindsight, maybe I should have done that a little bit of a different way. But I've now learned for next time when something similar comes up. Yeah. Well, the way I kind of see it. Doesn't mean we're always going to be doing the right thing all the time, even for ourselves.
No.
That's the humanness, I guess.
I do a lot of wrong stuff.
Yeah.
Like, still, you know, and
Yeah.
again, the difference is I admit it to myself.
Yeah. Okay,
You know?
Yeah.
I'm like, you really fucked that up. But you know what? It's okay because I've learnt from that.
Yeah.
And it probably won't happen again. But also, a lot of the time, when we do mess things up and we don't get it right, actually it was the way it was meant to go. You know, and I know a lot of people won't believe this, but life does work for you, not against you. You just have to trust it. You know,
and trust is hard for some people when they've been shown that they can't trust.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, exactly. And then you've got to
trust in you.
You've got that's where you start with it, isn't it? You've got to learn to trust yourself because you're never going to trust anything or anyone if you don't trust yourself.
No,
right?
not at all.
Yeah, it all starts internally, doesn't it? In your internal foundations, your internal trust, your internal belief systems, and then the outer stuff it falls into place. It's not quite that simple. There's a big journey there, but it doesn't have to be that hard.
No, I think,
and we don't have to suffer with illness. We don't have to suffer in whatever suffering we're in and whatever that looks like. So,
and I think, you know, going back to sort of, you know, your past and my past, it's realising that now, back then I used to think, why the hell is this happening to me? And I remember one day saying to myself, there has to be a reason. There has to be a reason that I'm going through this. I don't know what it is yet, but I know there must be something bigger. And now I get to wake up and do what I love every day. I get to sit in some of the most amazing minds in this world, I believe, and help them be better humans every day. Could I have understood human behaviour, you know, psychology, neuroscience, and all of that, actually, if I hadn't lived the life I had? Probably not.
No, I don't. I think the same. Yeah, I don't think I would understand.
Look at the gift
on that depth of, and being slightly obsessed with the human mind and body. And I often thought, where did that come from? And I trace it back to being a small child and just wanting to understand why I was so fucking annoying to people and why adults always lie. So that was my obsession with the human mind and body, is because I was very curious and I just wanted to know why people did the things they did.
I just wanted to know where the word normal came from. Like,
what is that?
Like, normal, you know, when people say, oh, you know, your child's not normal, I'm like, don't even go there. What's normal? I don't want to be normal.
I definitely
I've never
don't
wanted
want
to be normal.
No, I definitely don't want to be normal. I tried it once and I was very, very depressed.
Yeah, exactly. But of course you will be, because you're suppressing everything.
Suppression is the root of depression, right? Yeah. Suppression leads to depression, or whatever the saying is. But you know,
and it's like, if you're not acting out as you should be and want to be, then you're not really living.
Yeah.
You know,
who labelled emotions good or bad, positive or negative? They're just emotions. They're just this whole beautiful array of feelings and expression. Yeah, there's nothing good or bad about it.
No, exactly.
Yeah,
and I think like a talk that I do as well is understand the emotion that you're feeling at any time. I was working on a big contract about 3 months ago. And I put it to the side, and I was like, oh, I don't want to go through that. They've got a massive legal team, and there's me in my office, you know. I was like, oh, I don't really want to go there. And I was like, okay, Tracey, it's been there 3 days. You need to sign this fucking contract. Because if you don't, then you don't get the big, you know, you don't get the big thing that you want. And I was like, how am I feeling? So I get my feelings wheel out. All my clients like sometimes just call me the feelings coach. Don't get that wheel out, Tracey. But I'm like, don't come to me telling me you're pissed off. Like one client was saying to me, I'm pissed off. I hung up. He's like, I think you cut off. I went, no, I hung up. How are you feeling? And pissed off isn't a feeling. But for me, I was like, right, what is that? What is it I'm feeling? Okay, I feel anxious, but actually I feel inadequate.
Oh, vocabulary. I love the emotional vocabulary. That we can really get to the root of what it is we're feeling, because angry, happy, sad are those like main three emotions, isn't it?
Got to go deeper.
No, what's underneath that?
Yeah.
Underneath.
You know, and I felt, because I called it out. So when you call out a feeling by its exactly what it is. Yeah. It reduces the intensity of that feeling, the uncomfortable thing in our body, by 50%, just by calling it out. Yeah. Because it's like your brain is like you've shone a torch on it and going, oh my God, I've been caught. Yeah, so, okay, I felt inadequate. But then I looked at my success log and I'm like, wow, I negotiated some of the best contracts in my life, you know, with some pretty big corporates. This is a piece of it. I took it, I'd done it in 5 minutes, marked it up, sent it back. It was signed within an hour.
That's your brain just being a dick to you, basically.
But I needed to just, again, pause. Yeah. Okay, understand it. What is it? Right? It's not anxiety. It's deeper than that. Right? You feel inadequate right now. Why do you feel inadequate? You feel inadequate because, you know, you've not done this right. You feel inadequate because they've got 10 legal people on this contract and there's you. You feel, and so it was like, okay, the deeper I was like, right, but I'm not inadequate because I've done so many of these contracts before. Just move. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
So
that is the pause effect.
Yeah.
It's taking
Yeah.
that and going deeper with it, right?
Yeah. With everything. Any move.
And
You know.
Yeah. I'm a deep person.
Yeah.
You got to get deep.
So everyone always says, like, if you want surface level, do not go and see Tracey.
No. No.
And I'm sure they say the same, you know, about you.
Yeah.
Like, I will take you to pain.
Yeah.
Quickly. And I'll take you to the place you don't want to go quickly, because then we don't have to deal with it anymore. We can get over that rapidly, transform that quickly, you know. But we spend 20, 30 years never going there and wonder why we think, feel and act the way we do every day, you know. So go deep, no surface level, doesn't do you any favours.
Go deep or go home.
Basically. And now listen, that is a meme right there. Go deep or go home.
I'm going to coin that.
That is the name of the podcast today. Go deep or go home.
Go deep or go home. You've been listening to That Inner Voice podcast with me, Jennifer Mackenzie, and Tracey Hill. If you like what you've heard in today's episode, please do like, share, subscribe, all of that jazz. And I'll see you next time on the podcast. Thank you, Tracey.
Thank you.